Hi, thank you very much for introducing me. So yeah, my name is Bobby. I'm the co-founder and COO at CoinGecko. Very happy to be presenting today at the BlockDown conference. And for today, I would like to present basically 4 key findings from CoinGecko's decentralized finance survey. And I'd like to explain further. Next slide. And yeah, based on a little bit of background methodology. So in February 2020, decentralized finance, DeFi, hit the $1 billion mark in total value locked in smart contracts. We at CoinGecko wanted to find out some insights into the DeFi market, this DeFi, and on how things are going, a snapshot of the DeFi survey, DeFi market at this point in time. I believe that $1 billion is a significant milestone in DeFi, and it would be quite interesting to see how DeFi, to have questions such as who are the users of DeFi, what is the overall health of DeFi ecosystem, what are the current conveniences provided by DeFi as viewed by users, and are users willing to give up banks completely? We wanted to find out some of the answers to these questions, and we conducted a survey a couple months ago, 19 to 29 of March 2020, where we got a total of 700, close to 700 participants, 694 to be exact, where we did a computer-assisted self-interviewing, CASI, which is an online survey of distributed on some of our distribution channels such as the newsletter, Twitter, Telegram, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. There's 4 key findings, so I'll go through them today. And one of the first questions that we want to find out is, who are the DeFi users? Who are the people currently using DeFi? I forgot. Next 2 slides, please. Another slide, please. Next. Yeah. So one of the things that we found out was that DeFi is we asked the question, how many people have heard of DeFi? So of the 694 people that have heard of DeFi, 89% of them said that they have heard of DeFi at least once in the past 3 months. But what is surprising to us was the demographics of those who have heard of DeFi. So we sort of know that in crypto or in blockchain technology or blockchain space or the fintech space in general is very male-dominated industry. There's a gender gap in the space where. But what is surprising in a DeFi survey was that we found that 91% of users are male, only 9% of them are female, which is a big problem in this industry. And this suggests that DeFi has a huge untapped market potential by being more inclusive to the female users. So I highly urge DeFi teams to think hard on how to include more females in their apps, how to encourage more female participation. I would expect like in maybe in blockchain space, maybe around 70%, but 91% male is quite a surprising number to me, only 9% are female. In terms of age group, what we found was that most DeFi users are millennials, aged between 20 to 39 years old. This is split quite evenly between those in their 20s or 30s. 37% of users are between 20 to 29 years old, and 31% of users are between 30 and 39 years old. So this is not surprising, mostly male millennials using DeFi. I think one interesting thing to note is Gen Z, those aged below 16 years old, currently comprise less than 1% of users. And DeFi teams, they want to focus on them as they will be a growing demographic in the coming years to come. So in my next slide, what we found was that most of the users in our survey actually came from Asia. 46% of respondents came from Asia, and this is followed by Europe, 26%, and North America, 15%. So next slide. In terms of stablecoin, we wanted to ask a question, is stablecoin a gateway to DeFi? We wanted to see if there's any interesting relationship between stablecoin and DeFi. Next slide. And what we found was that users who are more familiar with DeFi are more likely than not to own at least one stablecoin. So we asked the question, do you own a stablecoin? And of the 649, like 419 people said that 74% of those who said they're familiar with DeFi said they do own at least a stablecoin. And for those that have heard of DeFi but don't know much, only 54%, and those who have never heard of DeFi, only 37% of them own stablecoin. Stablecoin, as we know, is one of the largest trading pair, and is traded across 200 exchanges, and is increasingly being used as a trading asset, and it's a fast-growing crypto borrowing and lending market. In our next slide, what we found was that this is an interesting insight, is that top 5 stablecoins owned among our DeFi respondents similar to the top 5 stablecoins by circulation or market capitalization. So the top 5 stablecoins by market cap is Tether, followed by USDC, TrueUSD, Paxos Standard, and DAI. DAI is the 5th largest coin by circulation. But when we ask them, do you own any of this stable coin? It's not surprising that Tether, being the largest coin by market cap by far, over 90% of the market cap of stablecoins is held by Tether. 68% of those who say they own stablecoin have owns Tether. So that's not surprising. But what is surprising is that the second most popular stablecoin among respondents is DAI. DAI has 50% ownership among our respondents who own stablecoin, even though it's only the 5th largest coin by market capitalization. This may be because DAI is used more than just a trading pair, and it's also locked in multiple DeFi protocols. The rest is it follows USDC, TrueUSD, and Paxos Standard follows the market cap rank. Next slide. So the next question that we wanted to ask as well is how familiar are users with DeFi decentralized applications? And next slide. So what we found was that we wrote a book earlier this year called How to DeFi, which basically is a beginner's guide to the decentralized finance space. We found that we could categorize DeFi into 9 major categories, namely Ethereum wallets, decentralized exchanges, decentralized derivatives, decentralized lending platforms, decentralized payments, insurance, decentralized insurance, decentralized fund management, lotteries, and dashboard. All we found was that among these 9 categories, we asked them, have you heard of any of these categories before? The 2 most popular categories would be decentralized exchanges, DEX, followed by Ethereum wallet, which is not surprising because everyone needs an Ethereum wallet to interact in DeFi. The 3rd most popular one is decentralized lending, and every other category is sort of small or marginal in comparison. And in terms of DEX, what we found was that Kyber is the most popular DEX, followed by Uniswap and Bancor. In terms of Ethereum wallet, MetaMask is the most popular Ethereum wallet. Argent is really small in comparison. In terms of decentralized lending, Maker is the most popular debt, followed by Compound and InstaDebt. Nexus Mutual is the most popular insurance. I won't really go into others because it's Augur, XDAI, Pool Together, TokenSet, and Sebly. Those are small in comparison. In the next slide, we shall see that if you stack all these DeFi applications together on one chart, we'll see that the MetaMask is the debt that is most popular. People have heard of these dApps. 72% of respondents have heard of MetaMask at least once in the past 3 months. This is followed by Kyber Network at 57%, Maker at 46%, Uniswap 44%, Bancor 43%, Augur 42%, followed by Compound at 25%. The rest is relatively low. In the next slide, unfortunately, what we found was that most DeFi protocols at this point in time have really poor usage, in the sense that if we ask them 2 questions: have you heard of this protocol in the past 3 months? And the next question is, have you used any of these protocols in the past 3 months? Only one application has high brand awareness and high usage, which is MetaMask, where people have heard of them and used them at least once in the past 3 months. Over 50% of these respondents said that. For the rest, like for example, Kyber, Maker, Uniswap, people have heard of them in the past 3 months, but haven't really used of them. And for most of the other applications, they have not only heard of them, haven't heard of them, they haven't even used them in the past 3 months. This indicates that there could probably be some underlying issues with these DeFi apps. Having low brand awareness and usage could indicate that users are probably not actively looking for the solutions that these providers are providing, or these it's actually hard to use any of these decentralized applications. So it's something that DeFi developers have to ask themselves really hard, like what can they do to improve these applications? Can they make it easier? How can they improve education? How can they get more people to use these applications and make it easier? So yeah, this is something that the DeFi developers need to answer. In the next slide, we ask our users, are these users, our users, ready at this point in time? And the next slide, we say that, we ask a question, given a chance, would you stop using banks entirely? Like, would you chuck all the banks and just completely focus on DeFi? So for those who said that they know what DeFi is, 54% of them said, yes, we are willing to remove the banks from their lives completely. For those that have heard of DeFi but don't really know what it is, only 28%. And obviously for those that have not heard of DeFi, the number is significantly smaller. When we ask those who have heard of DeFi and they're willing to completely leave the banks, we ask them, why are you willing to leave the banks? So the answer is that 31% of them said that they do not really trust the banking system. And they also said that DeFi is more efficient and convenient, and they prefer to have full ownership of their funds. And for those who said that maybe they'll leave the banks, but they still sort of need to use a bank for some reason, 25% of them said they still rely on banks for certain transactions, so they couldn't really go completely DeFi. And some of them said that it's a bit too early and there's later adoption in DeFi. And 15% of them said that DeFi is unsecured. This is an interesting point because if you notice in the past few months that there's been significant hacks in terms of the BZX twin hacks, DeForce hack, and this generally don't create a very good user perception and trust issue, and it's bad. So it's something that the DeFi developers need to find ways to kind of increase trust in the system. My final slide, the next slide, yep. So basically, come to the conclusion, to the 4 key findings that we found in our survey. So before I wrap up, let me just summarize the 4 key findings. So the first key finding that I presented today is that there's a significant gender disparity in DeFi. Only 9% of people in DeFi are females. It's something that we in the community need to do to encourage more female participation because it's not good for the overall health of this ecosystem. And there's a huge potential for growth if DeFi developers include more females in the space. The second main finding that we found was that groups who are more familiar with DeFi are more than likely to own at least one stablecoin. And DAI, even though it's the 5th largest coin by market capitalization, is actually the 2nd most popular coin by ownership. The third finding that we found was that DeFi applications, most DeFi protocols have poor brand recognition and usage statistics, except for MetaMask. So it's something that DeFi developers, DeFi teams need to do something about it to increase their awareness and to have higher usability. Otherwise, it's all just hype with no people using these protocols. And the final insight that we found was that groups who are familiar with DeFi are more than likely to be willing to go completely bankless, with the main reason being that these guys don't really trust the existing banking reason as the banking system as a primary reason. That's next slide. So that's my final slide. If you're interested to follow us, you can follow us at CoinGecko on the various social media channels, and I'm at Bobby Yong, or my email bobby@coingecko.com. I'll be happy to take a few questions. So that's all that I have for presentation today. Thank you very much.
Awesome. That was a great presentation. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'll go into the chat right now, see what we got here. Lots of questions coming in. We got time for a couple. One question is, when we're looking at stablecoins, there's a whole bunch that came out of nowhere. I mean, Bobby, you've been in the game for a long time. I've been in the game a long time. I remember USDT, and that was about all that was there. But now we have all kinds of stuff. When we're talking about stablecoins, which one would you suggest that your parents use to store their value? Which one would you think is the safest out of the stablecoins?
It's a very interesting question. So Tether is the largest stablecoin by market capitalization, but it's got a very controversial history, like in the sense that a lot of people don't really know if Bitfinex actually have the funds in the coin. If you have to ask me which stablecoin that my parents should use, I would say that we should probably go for USDC. USD coin is the coin that has the largest circulation and is regulated in the US from the Circle and the Coinbase teams. It's held in trust, and we know it's secure. I think the other regulated stablecoins are Paxos Standard and True USD, so it's probably one of these things. But if I had to ask my parents to use one stablecoin, it would just be USDC.
Fantastic. All right. Next question, just from me. With DeFi, yesterday's whole conference really focused in on DeFi. It's a very, very hot topic and has been for the last year, maybe year and a half. Do you think, in your opinion, that decentralized finance will take over the centralized finance industry? And if it ever does take that over, that flippening, when do you think that might be?
I certainly hope that DeFi will take over centralized finance in the future, but it's hard to predict when that will happen, in the sense that I think DeFi has got a really long way to go before it reaches mainstream adoption. It's still really hard to use compared to centralized finance. Centralized finance is a lot easier. It's significantly well funded, and these centralized entities have more money to go out and acquire customer and spend money on marketing, whereas DeFi is significantly disadvantaged in comparison. In the near future, centralized finance will definitely, maybe in crypto, centralized versions of it will grow significantly faster than DeFi. But maybe at some point in the future, when things blow up, like if we have another Mt. Gox issue in the space, then more and more users will move to a decentralized finance. I don't know when the flippening will come by. It won't be anytime near. It will be years to come, I would say.
Fantastic. One question to kind of follow up on that. Yeah, centralized finance has all the funds of the world. What should and could be the next step for DeFi projects to encourage more adoption? Like the very next steps?
I would say that we need to produce DeFi applications that are really, really simple for users to use. At this point in time, I think DeFi dApps are getting increasingly complex. It seems to cater to people who are in crypto. And even for those that are already in crypto like me, I find it really hard to stay in touch with all the developments that's happening in the space. And things are not easy, and some of them are getting really complex, like flash loans. And there's no way anyone without any developer knowledge can make use of flash loans. So I would say if there's one thing that DeFi could do to increase adoption, it would be making it really simple so that anyone can use DeFi. Really simple application. That is what is needed in the space.